had a little bit of a gap with our match reports. We've had a few different things on, not managed to get out together to do one, but we're back again. So, if you remember last time, I was having to rush off to work, working hard like always, can't get a minute to go fishing. But with the luxury of being a tackle shop owner, some people are just always out on the bank, and Paul was stopping to fish the evening match. And it went really well, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, pal, yeah. We were obviously testing the samples out, and my plan was to go and go on furlong on the evening, but with us testing the samples out and the fish that were moving about on the Oaklands Lake, it really did whet my appetite to get on there. So so when Eddie did the draw, peg 2, I drew peg 2, it was a rover match, and basically I went and sat on peg 18, which was just a couple of pegs up from where I'd done some samples with testing. Yeah. There was fish moving underneath my feet. Every time I sort of touched the water, a carp sort of came and had a little look.
Couldn't help yourself.
So yeah, I couldn't help myself, to be honest with you. And yeah, it was a 3 1/4 hour evening match. The only little bit of difference was the fact that you could actually feed your peg 15 minutes before the actual match actually started. So it did allow me just to like sort of pre-bait my peg, which is something a little bit different. It's not something I'm used to. But I'd only got maggots. We were actually there just to do testing and actually planned to fish the evening match. So I'd only got the maggots. And so that was going to be my main plan of attack. I set 3 rigs up, 3 shallow rigs up, 3 dibber rigs, all with different length lashes. I got one at like 18 inches, one just over 2 foot, and one at 3 foot. They're just basically for the pole tip over the heads. I just know with carp, they just don't like that pole tip over the heads. But as they get more aggressive with the feed, you know, you can sort of shorten your lash down as you go, and you can be like a little bit more accurate with your casting into the fish as the evening will go on.
Obviously hook more fish as well.
Exactly.
Hit your bites better with that shorter line.
Exactly.
So as soon as you can get on that, your catch rate increases.
Absolutely. There was a lot, you know, there is some small silverfish in there which can always be a pain with maggots, but big bunch of maggots. And I was at the start there was a few silverfish problems, but I could see the carp moving in as as the evening went on. On that particular bank, you've got the tree line on the opposite side, which is always a bonus. It's always an added. You know, you can actually target the fish. You can actually see them coming into the swim. So earlier on in the session, when there was just like less fish actually coming in, you was actually being able to target. As the evening went on and they sort of got more aggressive and there was more fish in your swim, that's obviously pushed the silverfish away, so you weren't having to target the fishes more. But yeah, I fed 2 lines. It's something it's similar to our approach of fish further down south, Bank End Fisheries and evening matches, where it's quite strange really, because like you can feed the 2 lines and one seems to be like stronger at the start, but as the evening goes on, the other one seems to become stronger.
Do you think that's maybe because you're not fishing that line as much? It's rested, fish have got a chance to gather a bit of confidence.
Yeah, it's possibly what it is, but it's just strange how you can be fishing one line and it's like the fish have gathered there and you're feeding exactly the same bait, the same quantities onto the other line, and there's just nothing there. You know, you can literally nothing there. You can't even go in and catch one just to rest that one but they're literally all gathered there. But as the evening went on, all of a sudden this one started to dry up slightly, and then all of a sudden this one started to show fish, and last hour this one's just like feeding at the zoo. They were just like carnage, to be honest with you. The short rig came in, so obviously like the shorter line, you can just, like you say, can be more accurate with your casting, and because of the shorter line, you know you're going to up more bites.
Yeah, a lot of self hookers.
That's right. Yeah. Out. I mean, I got 6 pints with me, and I've literally got probably half a pint left at the end, so probably 5.5 pints. 3 1/4 hour match.
Very positive.
The fish were in between like 2 and 4 pound. There was an odd one around about the 5 or 6 pound. Them smaller fish were definitely more scrappier. Definitely, like, I mean, I did have some 16 to 18 elastic, one of the ones we've been testing.
Yeah.
It was the new hybrid range that we're going to be bringing out. That coped really well with them 2 to 4 pound fish that were scrappy. But the bigger fish, to be honest with you, they came out a little bit even more easier. I was fishing beefed up gear. I was on 021, 019 hook lengths, 16 hooks, and I was baiting with like big bunches of maggots. So yeah, I would have fished. I did have a pellet rig set up as well for a banded pellet in case them small fish were going to be a nuisance. But yeah, they you know, carp soon pushed them out.
So what weight did you end up with? It was a very big weight for 3 hours,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
so I've had £304, which was the new record for the evening session, so I was pleased with that.
So first
Especially
time,
my first trip in, yeah.
first time
Yeah.
you've seen the place, beat all the regulars. Even our cameraman who's behind the cameras fished, and did you nearly double him? Not far off.
No, not
We'll
quite.
call
no,
it
not
doubling
quite.
him,
No, no.
we'll call
I think it was second. Baz was second, weren't he? I think he had £180.
Right, so you just scraped through.
Just scraped through.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so
But no, Baz was opposite. Baz was like took a feeder approach, and it was, to be honest with you, it was like interesting to see how the two approaches, because it was something one or two people said possibly wouldn't work. There was a lot of silverfish in there, but I think 20 minutes, half an hour in, maybe it wouldn't, but once they got a taste for their maggots, it was,
just got stronger and stronger.
just get stronger and stronger. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Brilliant. Bet you really enjoyed that then.
That's true.
Obviously, I was stuck at work, couldn't fish again, not getting out on the bank too much. But I did manage a few days off.
So how many days have you been fishing this since we've been there? Since we've been left out?
I've lost count, to be
Lost
honest.
count. So I know you've been to Sesse.
Yeah,
And
for a change.
back onto the new lakes.
Yeah.
And I know when I last spoke to you, I think you'd had 320, and I think you were just in the frame, but you felt as if you could have done better. I think you ran out of meat.
Yes, yeah, that was right, yeah.
And I noticed last time I'd drawn me, which we're going to touch on shortly, you had a big box of meat with you, so there was no chance of you running out of meat.
No, I've quickly learnt my lesson there, so
Okay.
stocked up on bait, not been chopping loads of chop up what I would normally take, but I've kept a spare box in the back of my van
Okay, yeah,
just
yeah.
in case. So the next match I went after that, I drew peg 12 on beach, which is a brilliant peg.
Okay.
I've said before, beach isn't a lake that people generally want to draw, but this year, for whatever reason, has been very good.
Yeah.
And peg 12 in particular has probably been the best peg. Probably
Okay.
the best peg on the venue this year, I would say. Certainly through summer.
Right. Okay.
Loads of fish there. And it's an end peg, so just for a change, I've drawn well. So sat down, and instantly when I got to my peg, something felt different to other matches. I had a little bit more room, one spare peg to the corner, two spare pegs the other side of me.
Okay.
And it just felt different. There was a lot more fish moving about, cruising, coming into the edges, mud kicking up, and I thought to myself, this is going to fish really well.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've got my bait out, I've chopped up, got some spare tins out ready to go, expecting to need them. And I started off, usual approach, mugged a few fish, and to be honest, similar to other matches lately, they were hard to mug.
Okay.
Flicking it in front of them and a lot of turn away, but I did catch a few and they were big. So I've got
What do you think that is? Do you think that's just down to the fact that they've been caught that many times
Yeah,
now up in the
yeah, I think
water, or has it been targeted?
early
and
in
they
the
just-
year, they're a bit stupid, but easy to catch. Now,
Yeah.
they're not as keen to eat every single thing that falls
So
past
even
their
though
nose.
you're catching fish doing it, you still felt you
It's
could
not-
catch more doing
it's-
something.
Yeah,
another-
it wasn't the right way, but it's a way to put a few fish in your net while you're priming your lines where you really want to catch them, where you're feeding bait, you're going to get them eating. So I threw meat in on a top 5 to fish on the bottom and to fish shallow.
Yeah.
And then I threw some down the edge. So I had a drop on the bottom. That was really good for sort of 20, 30 minutes.
Okay.
I had a real good spell on that. But I couldn't help but notice in the edge where I was throwing, every time I fed, there was something moving.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is going to fish really well. I'm going to have a go. So I've dropped in, and we're now an hour into the match. Dropped in the edge, and I've never caught fish so quick in my
Right,
life. I was fishing a top kit in one section,
Yeah, yeah.
and when I threw my meat in, the fish were almost looking up for the bait instantly. I
Okay.
could drop my rig in and have one on.
Right.
And for 2 hours, it was absolutely unbelievable. As quick as I could get in, I caught a fish, and I
Okay.
reckon I probably caught £300 in 2 hours, 280
Wow.
to £300
Wow.
in 2 hours. Like you just said, you're fishing for a big weight, you want to get them in quick, so beefed up gear. I know you like the hybrid we're doing, but I've been using the hollow.
Yeah,
I use
yeah.
the 18 to 20, which is a white colour.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, white elastics always work well, don't they?
Yeah, yeah.
Not sure why, must be the
Yeah.
dyes, but this elastic, lovely in the pole.
Yeah.
Through a short kit, so there's not as
Okay.
much of it. Comes out a bit, and then I'm straight in control in the net. I can be back in, get another one.
Okay.
Or 21 main lines again, and I'm fishing that straight through to a size 12 because my rig is only literally 8 inches long.
Okay.
A blob, a hook, and a piece of meat. They're coming that shallow in the grass. And it was unbelievable, and I'm thinking to myself, I've not got enough nets with me. And I had a lot of nets with me. And I thought, to be honest, record was on, which I've held a few times previously, but got broke last year, £593.
Wow.
And I felt
Okay.
like it was on.
Yeah, yeah.
And just over 2 hours to go, I'm still catching really, really well. And something changed with the weather. I can't really describe it, but it seemed to come over a bit cloudy.
Yeah.
A little bit of drizzle started, maybe a change in pressure or
Pressure,
whatever.
yeah.
And it just changed, and there was still fish there, but
Yeah.
and obviously I kept catching because there's loads of
Yeah,
fish there,
yeah.
but nothing like I was. And in the last 2 hours, I've caught maybe £100.
Wow. So it's still,
So still
did
good.
were you swapping between the two
I
lines?
was trying, but just
Yeah.
now it seemed right all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So still good, £100 in 2 hours. You can't complain. But bearing in mind, before that, I got £300 in 2 hours.
I mean, that's
So. It slowed down a bit to the end, but that middle bit, unbelievable. And I've actually finished the match with £486, I think I had.
Mega
so,
weight.
to be honest, if it had stayed for that last 2 hours,
yeah.
I'm looking at catching probably another £200 on that, I think.
Because you've held the record
150.
there.
I think 4 times now over the years since they were this big, and up to 2 years ago with £580 odd.
Okay. So who holds the record there now?
Gandhi.
So, right, Chris.
593. Whether it'll go again this year, the weights aren't as big. That one match, for whatever reason, stood out. That's the biggest weight anyone's caught this year, and it's not really looking at the minute like anyone's.
Is that because the fish are getting bigger and they just basically get a little bit wiser and they just get a little bit?
Turnouts are a bit bigger, a few more anglers on the lake. But yeah, brilliant match. So I won the match, 480 something pound. I think Phil Sellers was second with about I think he had just over 400. I think he had about 405. Great match, brilliant fishing. Fished a couple more matches there since that. I've been lucky enough to frame each time. I've had a couple of thirds. I've had another win on a Sunday match with just over £300.
Yeah.
Caught them on the bottom at 5 metres. That was lovely fishing. Nice and steady. Just kept catching one on the bottom. No liners, no foulers. Again on meat.
I know when some of the people that are looking at the weights that you've posted and it's 300, 400, possibly £500. I mean, when you're trying to mass them weights together, what would you say is probably one of the most important things to sort of concentrate on? Is it just basically trying to keep it as simple as possible? Is it just basically not trying to rush your fish? Is it
I'd say for me there's 2 big things. The first one is when the weights aren't quite so big, and when I say not quite so big, I'm talking 250 to £300.
Yeah.
The big thing is keep busy. You runs a fish, you drop in, get one. Nothing, move, get one,
Yeah.
And that's the way.
See, a lot of people would probably think that you were basically having massive runs off the same line all day, just want to chuck all day, but it's not.
No, it's not like that. And then when you get to the massive weights, you're 450, £500.
So what is it? What makes you choose? So obviously, you even if you caught 3 really quick, you know you're going to catch a 4th and a 5th. The fish just sort of the between fish just gets longer and longer.
Yes, exactly. And
so
instead of waiting,
and you're priming your line up.
Yeah, exactly. And instead of waiting, just off it, go in the edge, maybe mug 1 or 2. They've settled back down, drop in, and you run the next time. Might be 10 fish or 8 fish.
Okay.
But when the weights become really big, 450, £500, it's a case of just catching what you can for a little bit. I know that sounds a bit silly, but it might not be half an hour. And when they turn up on your good line, and for me that's normally shallow in the edge. When they turn up there, make the most of it. Fish the gear. Not stupidly heavy, you don't want to be pulling the heads off, but fish gear that you can get them out with. It wants to come out your pole nice, and then be able, 1 pull, lift up net, make the most of it, positive hooks, positive lines, proper elastics, and just keep going, catch as many as you can while they're then feeding. Because like it shows, that 2 hours was brilliant. Something can soon change and it drops off and you need to make the most of that spell. So, yeah, really good fishing there. I've been enjoying it, but I've been out a couple more times to some other venues.
Okay.
I know you've been out a couple more times as well. What other matches have you been?
So I've had a match at Ayfield. I've been to Lindholm at the weekend. That was on beaches. I drew peg 37. It's a peg that I've drawn before, and it's one thing there. It's nice to have the ripple come in. It's always nice to have. I had the wind off my back, which was unfortunate because it was a nice corner peg, and if you could get the wind blowing in, I'm sure that blows them extra few fish in that you always know you're going to need at Lindholm. There was basically the lake's been. Aaron and Neil have put some hide in there over the last 12-18 months, and this is definitely something that's come into the attack there. So you've got to target them for definite, maybe for the first hour, 2 hours at least, before the carp and the F1s decide to come on to feed. So my plan on that particular on Sunday was I was going to start just loose feeding casters, top kit with 2 on. I had rigs set up to fish through the water and onto the bottom. It's only 3 or 4 feet deep anyway, so it's not too deep. 4x12s, 4x14 rigs, and then some nice little shallow rigs as well. And again, that's just like nice, just trying to find a rhythm again with that. You're not trying to like super quick. I mean, you're going to get a bite every chuck, and unfortunately, didn't want to stay up in the water. You catch 2 really quick, and then it got a little bit messy. It was just more consistent if you fished on the bottom. So single caster. The more I could feed, definitely the bigger hooks I could use, and basically that would like just give me, because you was pulling out of an odd one, you know, you'd lift up and it's typical hide fishing. It's just finding that right amount of feed, getting the depths right, and just trying to get in a rhythm as best you can. You're always going to get little spells where it doesn't quite go to plan. And then there was a lot of fish being caught around the lake, to be perfectly honest, on the day. So you knew that you're going to need a carp arrival at some time. And with the wind being off my back, I wasn't expecting my edges to be as good as what they were. And to my right-hand side, the corner's actually to my left, but on the right-hand side, it plumbed up really nice, and it was nice and clean. There was no brambles or overhanging bushes like there is in the left. There's a bit of, it's like a jungle to my left, to be perfectly honest. And I started off by throwing 6 mils in, and when I went on it, I didn't get the response I was looking for. So I've ended up big potting, 2 big pots of micros, and I've carried on, gone back on the hide. I've looked round after 5 minutes and they're tailing up on it. So it's amazing that you can be feeding 6 mils and basically they were just not interested at all. I'm sure if you'd have gone on it and persevered, you'd have caught an odd one, but you put 2 pots of micros in and literally they're tailing up and they've got their heads down and they're having a chew.
I think things like micros and ground bait and that type of bait, that really does pull them in, doesn't it?
It does,
when things aren't happening, it just creates a response.
Yeah, the fashion mode there at the moment is on because obviously it's different to all the other lakes. Ben is because I've got the hide in. The micros was pulling the hide in over the last 12 months, and it was something so hard pellets, even 6s and 8s has been the method. But I weren't catching any carp. I didn't really have anything to lose, so I put the 2 big pots in. Fish have arrived, and I've had a really nice last 2 hours, to be honest with you. I've ended up with probably, I think I weighed 33 pound of hide, probably had 6 or 7 F1s, a couple of carp from over near the reeds, lost a couple of carp while I was resting it, and then I probably had 60 pound in the last hour and a half, 2 hours, F1s and carp up the edge, just kindling. Ideally I could have done with a rest line. I could have done with having 2 edge lines, but again it's really messy down in the left hand side, so I just my rest line became me back here to the hide, and then I was back in the margins when I felt it was right to go back in. So 122 I think I weighed. There was a 148 pull slack on peg 35. Paul Wright had 150 off peg 17. They had a good little battle next to it, sort of opposite each other. And then round the corner, local X Factor kid, Dale Shepherd, he's ended up with 203. So that was an amazing weight from there, to be honest with you. And also it actually coupled in with the fact that he's got his head to head with Oliver Scott on. Unfortunately for Oliver, he was on peg 5, which has been one of the pegs that you probably didn't want. Oliver was probably disappointed with that. Still put a great performance in. He's at 80 pound, mainly eyed. So if Dale had had an indifferent day as well, then Oliver would have pushed him, but Dale don't make many mistakes, to be honest with you. He's on fire at the moment.
If you put Dale on any amount of fish, well, he's brilliant, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's always
he
going
is.
to take some beating. So good luck to him in that final.
Yeah, £100,000. I think it's 20 in the final, 100 grand. That's going to be, I mean, it's going to be a good final because you're going to have, I mean, because of the knockout sort of how it's run, with it being a knockout, you're going to have the top anglers are just, there's going to be 20 top anglers in that final. So that's going to be a tough final to win, but you know, good luck to them.
So moving on from there, I've just got one more quick match I want to talk about, which was Redwood on Friday, and then it is to the big event, isn't it? We'll tell them all about the big event. So Friday I went to a new place for me. I've been to the venue once before, but on a different lake, Redwood Lakes on the Canal Lake. And just to cut that nice and short, drew peg 27, didn't really know a lot, but just wanted a simple approach, tapped a few pellets about my peg for 2 hours, never really caught a lot. 10, 12 pound, really struggled. I had a nice edge line down to my left. I really cut some reeds away, got into a real nice depth there because it's a bit overgrown. That was maybe 18 inch deep. And basically for the last 3 hours I've started throwing some meating at 5 metres, Old Faithful, and potted some meat and ground bait down the edge, and had a lovely sort of 3 hours catching a bit of everything: skimmers, barbel, carp, F1s. And then last half an hour or so the F1s have come shallower on my meat, caught them there shallow. Had a brilliant day's fishing, caught loads of fish, real nice mix, and had £100, 8 ounce I think I had. Brilliant. £30 actually came second, so quite a comfortable one for a change.
That is the beauty of meat
fishing.
That is the beauty of meat fishing, isn't it? It's so versatile in the fact that it catches so many different species of fish, but also you can catch them in different methods. So if the fish move up in the water, it's an up in the water bait. On the bottom, sorts out barbel, skimmers, carp,
Yeah,
F1s.
and generally quality fish.
And exactly, I'm just going to say, and definitely the size of fish as well
So,
that you're looking for.
Yeah, nice.
I know
nice
you're
day
desperate
again.
to get on
So
to the...
we'll move on to the big event. Come on, you can start us off. What happened this weekend?
So it was a Fish North, I think it was the final qualifier.
Yeah.
It's first Fish North I've ever fished at, first Fish North I've ever fished, and obviously up at where the final's actually going to be.
Yeah.
So, and I drew Oaklands, which obviously going back to
Match
the other
record
Monday
holder.
night. Yeah, exactly. So I was pleased with that, peg 6, and then you rocked up on peg 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're on the left-hand
Yeah.
side. Yeah, so you were on peg 5. And, I mean, we couldn't have fished more different in baits choices.
No, I don't think so.
We couldn't have fished more different. You've gone with your trusted meat,
Yeah.
and I've gone with my trusted maggots, my maggot and emp. I took some meat to fish short later on, and also I've took a few pellets just in case I needed them along the way somewhere.
Yeah, I think it was quite nice as well. It's almost like an old school match, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like you said you took some pellets, but you weren't planning on fishing them.
Yeah.
Pellets dominate a lot of places now, but
Yeah.
it's like going back in time a bit. Meat, maggots, hemp.
Yes.
So, that was
Absolutely.
quite nice, wasn't it? And
Yeah.
yeah, I think like you said, your approach was a few different baits. Basically, I had a tub of meat on my side, Jay, didn't I?
Exactly.
And I went for short pole with meat, long pole with meat, real mix of fish in there, some barbel, carp, skimmers, chub, bit of all sorts. Threw some meat in short, loose fed it long, and try to catch a bit of everything.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
And I think as it turned out on the day, maggots weren't quite right, were they?
No, I felt straight away, to be honest with you. I mean, we both started short. I've underarmed, I've dumped some maggots and emp in, underarmed the feeder on it. You've started short with a pole with the meat, and you've had that, 2 or 3 fish, couple of fish. I think you had a couple of fish earlier, didn't you? I think I had one. But then when you've gone long with your meat, pinging meat long, that's definitely been the difference to me. I've gone to, I wanted to fish shallow with maggots, but the winds obviously cut us across us a little bit, and it felt as if it was going to get up as the day went on. So I was big potting maggots to try and then underarming a feeder over it, and then I was hopefully going to bring them up during the day, but it didn't feel right. Very, very quickly I felt it didn't feel right. So I you looked really nice and settled how you were fishing, as if your match was going to plan, where mine's obviously I've had to have a bit of a time out, rethink, and I got a couple of spare pegs opposite, which sort of I felt as if you were going to be settled on that, which then would give me a straight lead line. So I've just sort of pinged a few pellets, I've got some pellets out, pinged a few pellets out on the straight lead line. I was quite surprised how slow it was, to be honest with you, and very few liners. I thought I'd be getting a few more liners than what I was, but every now and again it'd go out the blue. But you was definitely seemed to be building. It went a little bit slower for you. I know you chucked the straight lead over with your meat and you had a little go on the feeder, but you always felt as if that was the way to go on the day. I'd actually cut my meat to 8mm, which sort of limited me to what maybe if I'd fished 6mm, cut some meat to 6mm, I might have followed you out there pinging. But I stayed with my straight leg, caught a few. That brought it into like the last hour and a half, 2 hours, where I was just throwing a couple of 8mm cubes, kindering 8mm cubes, a little bit of emp, and I got a little bit of a late run, which got me to £76. But unfortunately, your £96, definitely took the quid.
Yeah, I think confidence was massive there, wasn't it? I had my way of fishing. I was confident it was right and plodded along. And the wind didn't really help, to be honest. I couldn't feed quite as accurate as I wanted. Couldn't keep my rig presented how I wanted. But like you said, I kept nicking an odd fish.
Yeah.
I had an hour spell where it slowed right down. I didn't really catch.
Yeah.
And then with maybe an hour and 3/4 left.
Yeah.
I had a really, really good spell, didn't I? For sort of 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Where I caught one every chuck, little carp, barbel, and it was going really well at that point. And I was thinking to myself, sort of, last hour I'm going to catch really well. Whether it's on that, they might come shallow, I might catch short. This is it.
Yeah.
And last it petered away from me again then, didn't it? And it wasn't through lack of fish there. I was getting indications, felt like they'd come shallow, went in shallow, caught a couple of chub. I think I got 1 carp, dropped in short. I wasn't really settled on that short line because I wanted to be out there where I knew there was some fish.
Yeah, yeah.
And the last hour really ran away from me, and I caught maybe 5 or 6 fish. Still didn't catch nothing. I still put a few in the net. But to be honest, looking around the lake, we felt like that was going to be enough to win the lake.
It was surprising, really, because of the nature of the lake. You got the 4 corners. I was expecting one of the 4 corners to take off, especially the windward end. Phil was obviously on 23. Gentleman on peg 2. I was expecting them to lift off last 2 hours, but it never happened, did it? And it sort of opened the door for one of the lads in between to
and I think
in between pegs to basically maybe sneak the zone and qualify for the final. So and to be honest with you, I thought you got it.
Yeah, I thought I had. unfortunately for me, and brilliantly well done to him, Chris O's on the other bank.
Okay, yeah.
He's had 1 roach with 2 hours to go and just had an amazing finish. He's caught 20 big carp on a short
To be honest with you, we didn't know he'd caught,
No,
had we? It was,
no.
it was bang opposite us.
Yeah.
And we didn't know. I was amazed when he come
No,
round and said he got 20 carp.
Yeah, 20 carp. He's
Yeah.
had 120 pounds, so
Yeah,
he's
well
been
done to
well
him.
clear.
Yeah, yeah.
Brilliant result. Well done to him.
You were second?
I was second, which,
again?
yeah, I've had some near misses in that now. There was second then. I've fished 3 others and I've missed out by, I think, 13 ounces, £2 and £3. So that has put me in a last chance saloon match.
Yes.
There's a bonus match. There's 2 places left up for grabs, which is this weekend on this lake here. Top 2 go through.
Yes.
Fingers crossed I come second again, I think. But if not, it's been a brilliant competition. Good luck to everyone who's made the semi-final. Hopefully I'll be there with you.
Yeah.
And I think next year I'll definitely be looking to fish more of them.
Yeah,
See where
myself
you've
too.
probably
Yeah,
got.
of course, exactly. Yeah, it's definitely a competition that's on the map. On the map now to calendar for people to fish it. All the big names are definitely having a go at it. So, yeah, looking forward to it next year.
So, I'm sure we've had enough of us rambling on now. We've got a lot of stuff to do today, a bit of filming, a bit of product testing.
Yeah.
Good luck to everyone who's out this weekend.
Yeah,
good luck
good luck
to you
to the
as
semi,
well.
yeah.
And hopefully things go well for us. We'll catch up with you again soon.
Wicked.